Hey, what's going on everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so the Lakers did lose to the Chicago Bulls this evening. Demar DeRozan at 38 points, I believe it was. Zo came out, hit 7 threes. Zach LaVine balled out as always. Those guys just really took it upon themselves to just blitz the Lakers basically with offense and just ran us out of the gym. Caruso came back, did a lot of things on the defensive end. Derrick Jones Jr. had a big game off the bench as well. And that was pretty much the story for the Chicago Bulls. The Lakers side, well, THT played well. We had Anthony Davis not play his best game and then get ejected in the third quarter after kind of a weird situation where he was kicked out for kind of yelling at the official. The official inbounded the ball while AD was putting on his shoe, and I guess AD thought he should be, able to get that shoe on. But it was what it was. Ref just didn't wait for him. And so on and so forth. He was kicked out, and from there it was just us continuing to get bludgeoned by the Chicago Bulls. I didn't get a chance to see this game all the way through, as I'm sure you guys would imagine. It was close when I walked away from it. I walked away at the end of the first quarter, started messing around with some crypto stuff, came back, and it was like maybe midway through the third, and we were down by like 25 points. So that was what I saw, honestly. And I don't know how many turnovers Westbrook had. I'm noticing as I check box scores on ESPN and Google, they don't tell you how many turnovers the players have. They'll tell you how many turnovers the team has, but they'll protect the players from that. And that's a big point of conversation, because I really, really, really need to be able to tell you guys exactly how poorly he played and or how well he played, of course. And I just couldn't really assess what I saw in either the highlights or the box score. So just kind of limited there. But I can honestly say that what I did see was a whole lot of stagnant offense as usual, and effort on defense that just was lacking tremendously lacking. There's a lot of things to kind of say, and there's a lot of different philosophies that I can kind of apply myself to. I can say, well, when LeBron James gets back, the team will be fine, or at least we'll stabilize some things. We'll get some wins that we're not getting here. Older players, you can think about the philosophy of older players when it comes down to the playoff time. They're going to be able to zero it in and kind of use that experience to ultimately help them win the chess game that is basketball when it matters most. There are a lot of different philosophies. There's another philosophy that opposes that says young bodies are ultimately going to win those wars. When it really comes down to it, the regular season is more important than we're giving it credit for, and we're setting bad precedent and bad habits, losing habits, bad defensive principles are setting in. And just because you have older players with cachet does not mean that they're going to be able to take those bad principles and bad habits and run those old bodies up against those young players and have success. So my philosophy about that is conflicting as well. At the end of the day, I really don't know what way to look at this Lakers situation, to be honest with you. I look at Russell Westbrook and remember that he started slow in other situations, and then by the end of the season, he looks great. The team's on a string, and he's helpful. I've seen that happen more than once with LeBron James teams, where his teams suck for a little while. He still ends up dragging them to the finals. Or they'll start off slow and still finish hot. I've seen, it's so many different ways this can go at this point. But I can tell you this. There is nothing that I'm seeing that lets me believe that this team is a championship team. Nothing about this fit, nothing about the progression, nothing about their attitude as it pertains to what it looks like they're going through right now. Guys don't look like they're angry enough. Guys don't look like they really care that much. I gotta say this. It's been on my mind for a little bit. I didn't want to really go here with it, but I gotta say it. Anthony Davis's attitude seems like he's happy. He seems like, what I mean by happy is not productive happy, but it seems like he's satisfied, and I just don't like that notion. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm right in what I'm thinking, but it just feel like he's cool. Like, He's just content with where he's at. He's content with how he's playing. He's taking jump shots when he has a size advantage tonight. I think that was one of the biggest things I heard Laker fans complain about. And it was, the jump shots I saw him take, he made. So I wasn't complaining, but I know that I missed a big chunk of the game. So it's like listening to what they were saying, we just needed him to be a little more aggressive with the time that he had out there. Now, granted, he would have had his numbers if he would have finished the game, but it's not about that, man. It's just about what's your approach, What's your approach? Okay, you fell down. You didn't put your shoe on. Okay, you're a superstar. You want to be able to be given that cachet, but the game don't stop for you, bro. I've watched basketball for a long time. Sometimes they'll wait. Sometimes they won't. But the notion that they're supposed to wait for you so you can put your shoe on, bro, you're down by 15 at that time. You're not even winning the game. So, no one's going to be looking to make sure that you're given some special cachet while you gather yourself to get into play. Get your butt up and get into play. Instead of yelling at him, put your damn shoe on and sprint down the other end. If you were a lesser player, that would be your responsibility. If you were, say, a Malik Monk, ain't nobody gonna want to hear nothing from you. So as AD, you should be setting that precedent for the rest of the team. I just felt like in that situation, you want him to be more mature. Could the referee been a little more, lenient in regards to that situation? Yes, you want to see officials act more appropriately in situations like that. I think you at least allow him to get off the floor. But now you've taken that away from, you're taking the spotlight away from the official, and you put it on yourself. That's what you've done in this situation if you're AD. As to where you could say, the official, if he handles that and just runs down the court and gets back on defense, nothing happens, I guarantee you someone in the NBA is going to be calling that official and speaking to him about that play. Like, why? You can't do that. You should not do that. But at the same time, it's not on AD to try to contest that at that moment. Too important to the basketball team. We're down, and you're just too important. You got to know what. We talk about leadership. A leader's gonna make sure he's on the floor in that situation. You ain't getting kicked out of that game. You just can't do that. You're too important. So I was disappointed in that. So yeah, man. What can I say, man? Frank Vogel, I'm ready to fire him. I am. I'm good. I've seen enough. I'm ready. And the reason why I'm ready is not because I think that he has a full spectrum of what he needs to win right now. He don't have what he needs. He's not able to necessarily get the most for what he's supposed to be coaching right now. That's not the problem. It's about how he's handling that. He's not handling that well. And then you couple that with how well other players are playing after leaving his system each and every time. Don't even look at the Lakers. Look at everybody else after they leave the Lakers. All of their numbers go up. They all find themselves in situations where they flow better in the offense. And then you look at players who come here. Russell Westbrook has never played this bad in his career. We've seen him play bad. He's never been this bad. Never. It's because of the offense he's in, to be honest with you, and how they're running that offense. It's awful. Anthony Davis hasn't looked this bad. His numbers are significantly lower since becoming a Laker. What's the main constant there? Frank. LeBron James' numbers are great. He's always going to be great. He's going to overcome that. He's the algorithm beater in that regard. Doesn't matter what the offense is, he's going to look like LeBron, and that's that. But if you look at guys like Kuzma, we couldn't get nothing out of Kuzma. Look at Trez, couldn't get nothing out of Trez. You look at Schroeder, he's playing better in Boston. You look at KCP, he's playing better in Washington. It just goes on and on and on. Caruso, we saw how he looked tonight. Josh Hart looks great, even though I don't think he was coached by Frank. He was not, I don't believe. But that's not the point. The point I'm trying to make is our offense is so stagnant and our players are struggling so much within it. His specialty is defense, and we have one of the worst defenses in the league. Part of being an NBA coach is weathering the storm of having limited rosters, players coming in and out of the lineup, being able to manage that and put good players on the floor, trying things that work, finding things that work, guys coming out playing hard for you even though you are undermanned. Those things matter. Those are the things that we're not seeing right now. We're not seeing that. We're not seeing guys come out of the locker room and play well. We're playing the worst we've played coming out of the locker room in probably a decade. Like, we haven't struggled this much to start third quarters ever, maybe ever. We've seen ineptitude from players, individual ineptitude, benchmarks that have never been made, starting to be made this season by guys like Russell Westbrook under this coach. Westbrook's struggles are as they are, but as I continue to harp on, there are certain things that you can do to kind of mask deficiencies. We're not seeing anyone do anything to help us with that at all. We're not seeing none of that from our coach. So for our circumstances, all of them, both what we're going through and what we're wanting to have when our players get back, for this situation with this player, with this limited cap situation that we have, the coach is not right for that. He's just not right for that. We can't get better with the roster. We can't make trades to make ourselves better. And see, that's the point. That's the point. I would love to say, okay, well, the Lakers can just trade some of these guys who are not playing well, and then we'll bring in some guys who are playing well, and we'll just go on. And it doesn't work that way when you have 3 max contracts. You're stuck with what you have. That's the problem. So you got to bring in someone who can get the most out of what you got. That's what it is. You can't bring Frank what he needs to be most comfortable, which is defensive players and guys who are going to make his offense look great by just, overcoming the fact that everyone's standing around. So, yeah, man, he reminds me of Mike Brown. Y'all remember Mike Brown? Mike Brown was the type of coach where he really, really puts an emphasis on defense, but offensively the team was stagnant. Offensively we had no motion. Offensively we just couldn't get it going. That's who Frank Vogel reminds me of at this time. It's just another Frank Brown. And honestly, I was cool on Frank Brown, and I'm cool on Frank Vogel. And that's really what it come down to. You know what I mean? We just got to move on. We got to get a coach in there. Maybe you bring up Fizz. You know what I mean? Maybe you just bring him up and let him be interim for a little while or something. But you need a new voice in that locker room right now. Guys are not responding to Frank. His attitude is just kind of like, we're due. No. We need somebody who's going to get angry. We need somebody who's going to have an imagination. We're gonna need some guys who are going to be bold enough to do some things that maybe others wouldn't do. Like sit Russell after the first 2 turnovers. After the first 2 bonehead passes that he makes, he will not get back in the game. That's the type of coach I need right now. That's going to do things like that and put an emphasis on guys holding themselves accountable for the things that they need to do to get better. Because right now, we just ain't getting mad enough. We're not angry enough. We're too happy. We're too satisfied, too comfortable with this being early in the season and with us getting it back together. That attitude is not going to get us through these playoffs or get us to the playoffs. We will miss the playoffs if we stay on this path. You know what I mean? That's it. That's all there is to it, you guys. Good thing is that THT is looking great. He's playing the best basketball of his career right now. And he's carrying us. And I think he'll be able to help us going forward. We're not going to be playing teams like the Bulls every night. We will have nights where we'll be able to get victories off the strength of our players. But tonight, you just want to see guys come out better. It's too many storylines surrounding this game for guys to not be ready. It's too many stories. It was DeMar DeRozan coming home, Lonzo Ball coming home. It's just Caruso coming back to LA. You got THT and AD from Chicago, and ain't nobody on the Lakers sense the need to just kind of push themselves a little harder. Frank, what are you putting on the bulletin board? What's being written up there? Those are the type of questions. I remember hearing about the Heat culture where they used to, do all kinds of different stuff. I used to hear about Phil Jackson where he would light sage and give people books and stuff like that. That's the type of energy we need right now. We need something that's going to, as Stephen A. loves to say, galvanize the troops. it's not even about basketball right now. It's just about guys digging into what it is that they want to accomplish for the rest of this season. You know what I mean? It's not just about winning games. It's just about having the right attitude. And I think right now we just don't have the right attitude. You know, we're not competitive right now in our nature. And more importantly, it's just too much stagnation on both sides of the floor. Just too much, you know. Too much standing around, not enough hands up, you know, in contesting shots. I saw, and Russell, you know, it's on him in a lot of situations because we were seeing Lonzo Ball hitting jumper after jumper after jumper, non-contested. It's just effort, man. Effort. At the end of the day, you want guys to put their hands up. You want them to not foul. You want them to do all the things necessary to win, even when you're outmatched. And I didn't see that at all. Not tonight, just in general from this team, we're not seeing it. So, yeah, man. Yeah, more imagination, more imagination, more imagination. We need a Mike D'Antoni type. We need somebody who's going to infuse some real offense in this thing, man. And you know what, man? Hindsight is 20/20. But if you look at them two other coaching candidates that we let slide, even though I had Frank ahead, I was wrong. Needless to say, Monty Williams and Ty Lue were a better decision. I mean, obviously they don't have the ring that he has since, but I'm sure they would have wanted if they were coaching the roster he had in 2020, especially against a Heat team that didn't have all their players in the finals, in a bubble situation that didn't require any travel. Yes, it was difficult. I'm not taking nothing from it, but it did make for less motioning, which I think does help in some cases. So, yeah, I think a lot of people would have won that championship with that roster we had. I'm not giving Frank all the credit for that. I'm not. I know better to do that. I just feel like what we've seen from him is a whole lot of negatives. And that Montrezl Harrell thing was enough for me, but tonight's game should be enough for everybody. And I'll tell you something else, man. I'm trying to be patient with my guy, Russell Westbrook. I know he's going to be with us, you know what I mean? I'm not surprised by his struggles, and I do think a change of coach would help him. But I'm going to be real with y'all, and I've been thinking about this for about an hour now. If Philadelphia was stupid enough to take his contract from us, I would be more than happy to trade him for Ben Simmons. More than happy. I've been thinking about that for an hour now, and it's a lot of reasons that contribute to that. I know it's not something that's popular, and obviously he's a hometown guy. You don't want to give up on somebody when they're struggling. You know what he can become. But I just feel like our defense sucks so bad, and he shoots so poorly. He was 0 for 6 tonight from 3. The threes that Ben doesn't take, he makes up for on the defensive end. That's why Philadelphia is one of the best teams in the league every year, despite him not shooting very well at all. Him foregoing threes on this team isn't as important because we have all kinds of spot-up shooters that don't do nothing but shoot. And they don't defend. They need someone like him on the floor to help them do what it is that they do. You could put him down there with AD. Again, AD, even though he's had his issues with his, you know, what we've talked about, he's still one of the most efficient defensive players the game has ever seen. You couple that with another defensive player like that, since that's the dynamic Philly has anyway with him and Embiid, it makes us extremely dangerous defensively. As to where right now with Russell Westbrook, we're not dangerous at all. Russell Westbrook's supposed to be a good facilitator. He's not facilitating the ball at all. He's doing everything but getting the ball where it needs to go. In fact, he's a deterrent to our ball movement. And he's a deterrent to our defense. So his threat of shooting the ball, which is what Ben Simmons doesn't provide, which is in theory supposed to stretch the floor, ain't really a threat at all if he ain't making none of them. I'm not saying Philly would do this deal. If anything, like I said, they'd be stupid for doing that deal. And I don't think Philly would do that deal. They got other deals out there. And I wouldn't trade Russell Westbrook just for anybody. It's not addition by subtraction. I want Ben Simmons in his stead. But if for some reason that became possible, we would need to make that happen at this point. Seriously. Why? Because Russell Westbrook has a 4-year contract, bro. We're stuck with this damn thing. That's why. That's where reality is starting to set in. This man is 33 years old. He's struggling. What, you think he's going to get better from here? Not as long as we keep the same offense running. Not as long as we continue to have these issues defensively. And how do we get better? We trade AD so we can get some cap space. Or you trade Braun to get some cap space. The only way you're going to get cap space is to trade him. And you're not going to be able to trade him for anything that's going to make you a contender unless it's something like Ben Simmons. It's the only way you're going to stay in contention. We trade him for a bunch of fourth quarters, we may get good. We may be all right. But this notion that Patty Mills and Buddy Hield was going to make us a lot better than what we are right now. Newsflash, ladies and gentlemen. With LeBron James down, those guys would have been having the same problems we have right now. In fact, we look even worse in some cases. So I think knowing how basketball is actually supposed to be run, I know that we wouldn't be better if we had players like that without a facilitator. You need a Ben Simmons. You need Alonzo Ball. You need what Russell Westbrook's supposed to be, which is a facilitator when LeBron James ain't out there. What Caruso is, et cetera, what Draymond is, et cetera. You know what it is. So, yeah, man. If we trade Russell Westbrook for Ben Simmons, I will celebrate. I will. I love what Russell brings to the table when he's at his best, but we haven't seen that, and I don't think that's coming because he's getting older, and our offense is not catered to him being able to succeed at all. As to where Ben Simmons, well, I don't care about his offense. As long as he's continuing to pass the ball at a smart and high efficient rate, he's going to get the ball to AD and LeBron James. There's not much better in the world than that. And then on the defensive end, he'll make up for what it is that others are not. We would immediately go from being one of the worst defensive teams in the league to one of the best defensive teams in the league overnight just by making that one single trade, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't think we lose anything offensively at all because neither one of them dudes is shooting anything for us, Ben or Westbrook. So, yeah, man, I'm just dreaming. That ain't happening. But it would be nice if it did, you know. That's where I'm at with it. I'm sorry, I hate to give up on Russie this soon, but I can see where this is headed. And it ain't going to end in no championship unless we're able to shuffle some of these players that ain't doing nothing for productive players. And that just does not appear possible. Not with our cap situation. It doesn't appear possible. So, yeah, man, we got to get out from under that contract early. We got to cut our losses. You know when you buy a bad stock and you know it's bad, it's headed for the dumps, what you gonna ride it all the way to zero? Nah, you're probably gonna get out of there. That's what this is. This is a mistake, y'all. What can I say? It's a mistake. Skip Bayless was right. This is a terrible fit. It ain't gonna get better. I've shuffled my head in many different ways to try to figure out what would make this work. I think I came up with something, but Frank Vogel ain't listening to me. He ain't. You know what I'm saying? I'm imaginative, but I'm not a basketball mind, and I'm not in those rooms. So I would love to tell you, oh, you could do this, and this. But the reality is, Frank got to come up with something. And he's not going to. So unless Jeannie decides to fire him, our only solution is to try to get out from under Russell Westbrook's contract and salvage what will be our future before it's too late. That's the reality of our situation. My name is BDF44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.